People popping in left and right.
I like Kimberly's photo. I saw that first. I guess that's her profile photo. I thought she was live with that photo up. And it's so engaging. It's so happy.
That is a good photo.
Yeah. Hi, Sheila.
Hey, Diane.
I think they're all muted.
Yes, everyone is probably going to come in on mute, but feel free to take yourself off mute. Also, we encourage everyone to turn their cameras on if they are able to.
Hey, Aunt.
Hi.
Hi, Anthony.
How
Hello,
are you?
hello.
Hi, Diane.
Hey,
Did you
how's
guys have
everybody?
fun at the game, Aunt?
How's everybody on this beautiful Monday?
We're doing fabulously.
Excellent.
How are you doing, Diane?
I couldn't be better.
Great. Great.
Diane's freezing her butt off in New York with me.
Ooh.
Not in the same room, but
Well, I got
What's
news
the
for you guys.
temperature right now?
it's cold here.
All right.
Very cold.
Well, I'm
Too close to the
freezing my butt off here in Texas right now. So
The temperature right now is 32 degrees, Anthony.
Oh, actually, that's not so bad compared to
Yeah.
yesterday.
Oh,
It's
compared to
cold
yesterday.
it's cold in Los Angeles too. It's pouring, so.
Yeah. Can you go check my house, Cole? Thanks. It's probably floating away.
Oh, that's good you have her right there. She can do that.
Yes. I haven't employed her yet to do that, but it's coming.
Oh, it's family. It's family. You just got to take advantage.
Yeah.
All right.
Kendra.
We'll let people flow in, but we can jump right in, so we don't waste any time.
Excellent. So before we get started here, I just want to take a moment to say how honored I am and excited to have Gina here today with us. I have had the great fortune to know Gina for over 5 years now, I think, right, Gina?
Yes.
We met through Dave Jenks, her husband, and I knew Dave as a coach, and he introduced me to Gina as a person, a coach, a friend, and I've had the amazing opportunity to both coach with Gina and be friends with Gina for quite some time now. And I'm super excited that you are going to be able to hear from her directly today and learn from her. And we're going to keep this as interactive as possible. So that said, I'll just say, for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Eva Casoria. I run a small but top producing team in New York and Connecticut. I have team members on the call, one of which is my son, Dylan, and Erica and Bill, I think, might be here as well. And then with that, I'm going to turn it over to Colby, and she's going to give you a more formal introduction to Gina and her accomplishments.
Yes, and just a brief introduction to myself. I work in partnership with my mom, my brother, and her team. We also run Every Move Collective here at EXP, and we are hosting these masterminds on the second and fourth Monday of every month. So if you've been to one before, thanks for coming back. And if it's your first time, there will be more to come. But without further ado, Gina Waterfield Jenks is an accomplished speaker, transformational coach, clinical hypnotist, and a published author. She's been doing this work for over 30 years in holistic health and in personal and professional development. Her focus has largely been on the science of relationships and communication, mindset and habits, resilience training, grief recovery. So a lot of what we might find ourselves talking about today. She's been on stages, TVs, news stations, and is an active mental health advocate and very trauma sensitive mental real estate coach. So I'll let her introduce herself, but before I do, we just want to encourage everyone to participate as much as they'd like. So if you can turn on your cameras, you'll probably find that you'll be a little bit more engaged. If you have a question at any point, you can drop it in the chat or even just raise your hand, and we will look to have a conversation that's interactive. So Gina, you can take it from here, and then we can dive into our Q&A format.
Thank you so much for that introduction, ladies. I'm so excited about being here with you. This has been a long time in the coming, and we've all been talking about it and looking forward to it for some time. And I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you for the invitation. And looking forward to talking with everybody. I'm very happy this is going to be interactive. We would like to hear from you. We want this to be a conversation and a little bit different from the norm, but good anyway. And so a lot of what we're going to talk about today is, being in business today and how different it's going to look as we move forward. And marketing our businesses in 2024 is going to look different. And I'm jumping right in because there's so much to talk about, and I'm really excited about this. Before the end of the year, I guess sometime early in the fourth quarter, I was getting a little bit anxious because I was thinking, started thinking doom and gloom and, looking at what this future year was going to look like for all of us because of all of the, the other chatter that we hear, right? And what does our mind go to? A lot of times it goes to the negativity, to negative information, and that's natural. As a clinical hypnotist, I see a lot of that in my practice. And guess what? I see it in my own life, my own thoughts. And it takes, some work to figure out your way through that. And I just want to assure you, it happens to all of us and our personal lives and also in our business lives. And so when we're communicating with people, we want to make sure that this year is the year that we really bring our A game, that we focus on relationships and communication, because I think that, and I'm sure that you can support this, there is evidence that we function better when we function in community. And what does that mean? We need to think about mindset, right? You hear a lot of buzzwords about mindset, and there's a lot more to mindset than just the word and positive affirmations. Everything that we do, everything that we think, everything that we feel is centered around emotions. And so this year, I'm going to encourage you to forge better, deeper, more meaningful relationships, because business is more than just a transaction. That is the way, or that is the how. The way is through relationships with people. And I just want to say, if we're going to have a deeper conversation about this in a lot of different ways, but I want you to know that I believe in you, that I see you, and we're all trying to figure out a different way, a better way, one that feels more holistic and healthy and has better outcomes for everyone, for ourselves and for our communities, for our customers. And one of the things that I wanted to mention at the top of this message was there are some top tier skills that I want you to work on this year as far as leadership goes and being influential, because that's what we're all doing here. If you're in business, you are an influencer. If you are a parent, you are an influencer. I want you to think about it that way. You are moving the needle for someone, and more importantly, for yourself. So every single thought you have has to be directed. Our brain is sitting here. It's an organ. It's waiting for instruction for us all the time. And what happens a lot of times is that we get into these cycles of disbelief or dysfunctional belief, and we have to constantly redirect ourselves. And we have to do the same things with our people, whether it's your kids, your colleagues, your friends, people you meet on the streets. We're doing that. We need to do that. And we need to be a little bit more intentional about it this year. And just so one of the other top skills that I wanted to talk about was discipline, focus. Focus is so critical this year. It's easy to get distracted. And if most of us have been entrepreneurs for some time, it's easy for us to get distracted and let our mind go all over the place. We are visionary. We are visionary and creative. Eve and I and Colby and I were talking about, being, having, a lot of us say, well, I'm ADD, I'm ADHD. Well, what if we used terminology that didn't put us in the box so much, but actually helped us to open the box and flourish? We are creative. We are visionary. We are changing our world, one person, one action, one thought, one piece of language at a time. That's powerful. That's powerful. And it leads to optimism instead of the other words that we used and that I just used, which is disempowering. I am a magical unicorn because I have a mind that is always generating ideas. Now, the next step would be focus. Focus. We have to let go of some of the noise. You know, when I'm bringing someone into a state of hypnosis, we're quieting down all of that external chatter. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone somewhere where you were talking and all of a sudden the rest of the room just evaporated from your presence? You're so intentional in that moment. Your energy, everything about you is in that moment. It's magical. That is the kind of connections that we want to establish with people. And how do we do that? We do that by developing deep listening skills. We pay attention by intention. We really listen. We ask them, is this what you meant to say? Ask for confirmation. This is what I'm hearing you say, right? We don't just drop the conversation, let it trail off. We make sure that we understand what the message is here. If we're working on, developing our connections with our clients, or new clients, redeveloping, bringing back up the conversations of the clients we've had in the past and readdressing what their needs are today, we have to be intentional about that focus and about that intention and attention. What are their needs today? If you've had past clients, their needs have changed. I guarantee you that. Life goes on, it changes. It changes in a myriad of ways. Be sure that you address those clients that you've worked with in the past. Ask them. Talk with them.
Gina, I hear you saying, like we've spoken about in the past, that having a deeper understanding of emotions can positively impact decisions that you make in the business world or in our personal lives. Can you expand a little bit on what you mean by deeper understanding of emotions and how that does that?
Okay, so thank you for asking that, Eva. As I said earlier, every decision we make is centered around emotions, right? So if you are missing the mark, you may miss the sale. You may miss out entirely on the transaction, right? So if I were to, miss the mark where a client comes to me and says, this is the problem I'm having in my life. I can't drive on the roads all of a sudden. I don't know what happened. I haven't been able to do it. It sends me into anxiety and it's a problem and I need that problem fixed. Can you help me? Yes, I can help you. Tell me more. Tell me more. When did this first start happening? Was there any event centered around this first happening? And a lot of times people don't consciously remember, so we have to do some more explorative work. But you continue to ask questions. You want to move the needle. You're going to need more information, right? If I missed that mark and said, oh, let's do a hypnosis session and we'll just clear that up like this. No, because there's always a deeper meaning. There's deeper meanings to our thoughts, to our actions, to our feelings.
Yeah.
To our habits and behaviors, right? And so if I don't go to that original source of the problem, it's still there in their unconscious or subconscious mind. It's still
Well,
there.
and all of us do that too. I mean, I keep hearing you say about pulling on your experience in hypnotism and those types of things. But we as realtors, I think a good majority of the people here are, we do that all the time with our clients, maybe without even realizing it. So as you're talking, I'm thinking, yeah, I do that with my buyers or my sellers, because if I don't understand and go deeper, what is emotionally causing them to make a decision, I can't solve the problem. And we're all problem solvers. So that's what I hear as an application in the real estate world right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just think about all the customers that you could be solving problems for if you went a little deeper. So, one of the things that I took recently took a startup. It was a training session for for building startup companies. And why I did that was because even though I've been a lifelong entrepreneur since I was a child, I wanted to remind myself and really see what else I'm missing, right? It's a discovery process. All of this we're going to constantly reinvent, right? We need to. We're growing, we're changing, just like our customers are. But one of the things that I took away from that was if you don't understand your client persona, you're going to miss the mark. You're going to miss it all over the place. And, as I said, people change. I'm changing. Why wouldn't my needs are different today? Why wouldn't my customers' needs be different today? They're evolving too. And to ask yourself, who is my client profile today? That is such a short title for a deep well. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
you have to keep going and going and going and breaking it down and digging deeper because it's not that simple to answer that question. You need to know where your customers eat, where they live, what car they drive, what's their lifestyle, what shoes do they buy? I mean, all the way down to
Yeah.
there's infinite answers there, right? But it's untapped information, right? We
Yeah.
just like I do with my client, my hypnosis clients. It's not a one and done. There's no magic pill, that's going to take you instantly to this transition. However, we have interesting magical things happen in one session, right?
Yeah.
There's still more.
And the flip of that too is your clients need to get to know you as well in order for you to be able to develop some level of trust, which is a word that we use all the time. And I'm letting you go off on that a little bit. But in order to develop trust, if you don't allow your clients to see who you are, relate to you, understand you, it's so much harder to make the initial connection and then throughout the process to get them to know that you know what you're doing.
Absolutely. I mean, I get
Gina, let me stop one sec. Just quickly, I think somebody is not muted and is on a phone call.
Yeah, I just muted them.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry about that. So trust.
So
Let's talk about trust.
I'm seeing somebody from Sydney Hathaway to everyone saying something about if you see someone, you just see the person and you're not really seeing the intimacies of that person, right? I mean, that's what I'm ad-libbing to that. I just
Yes.
thing, but you're only seeing a part, a facade of who I am right now. However, you are also hearing you're seeing my eye contact, you're watching my body, the way that I'm moving, I'm using my hands. You're watching and you're listening to inflection in my voice, the cadence of my voice, the tone of my voice. And it's sometimes that will change, right? When I'm talking with people, just like I'm speaking as a point of reference here for all of you. What we convey to people has to be steeped in emotional content because when it comes down to it, they need to know us in order to trust us emotionally. Like I said, commerce is centered around emotions. What do you think happens okay, so first of all, we're feeding ourselves because we're hungry. We're afraid we're going to be, we're not going to be able to eat, basically. We have FOMO, food FOMO, right? Feeding FOMO. I mean, everything you can break down to emotions.
I'm always worried about what I'm going to eat.
I am too. Trust me. And it needs to be pretty to go in the pile. But my inflection is going to change at different times to convey to have a different impact, right? Like sometimes when we first get on the call, I'm like super excited. I'm stoked up. My energy is lifting. And then when I'm getting to a point where I want to make a real serious, meaningful moment happen, I'm going to change the tone of my voice, the inflection in my tone. I'm going to soften my tone. All of these things are going to shift the energy with the person that you're talking with. right? So as much as I want to know their needs, they need to know mine. Who am I? What am I about? Am I somebody that they have to be wary of? When it comes down to it, we all need three things in life to survive. Three things. I thought it was community. It's not. I thought it was love. It's not. I thought it was friendship. It's not. It is air, water, and food. Those are the three things, essential things that we need. The rest is desire. It is all want, and that is based on emotions, right? So as much as I want to extract information from them, basically that's what I'm doing. I'm an influencer. I'm influencing them to give me information. And they also want the same in return. And all people want to see, they want to feel seen, heard, valued, understood, and they want to feel safe. And if you are a provider, say you're selling homes, you're selling insurance, you're selling loans, mortgages, titles, whatever. If you're a titleist, people need to know they trust you. I'm not going to go with a provider I don't trust. If there is any one little hint of distrust, I'm going to step back. And then I might ask more questions. And then I might decide at that point, is this someone that I feel values me as a human being, that values my time, my money, my fears, my desires?
And the interesting thing about that, Gina, is that person might actually feel that way. They may actually really, really have your best interests at heart. And yet sometimes if you can't convey that effectively, if they don't know that, then they're not going to be able to receive what you have to offer them as, a professional real estate person.
Exactly. Just think about the time that you talk with somebody and they cut you off, because they're in a hurry. It's a moment for them. They're having their own moment. And that saying that, it's not always about us, but sometimes people are having a moment. I've done it too. I cut somebody off yesterday quickly, right? And then I went back and sent them a message and said, hey, I'm really sorry that I cut you off so quickly. I had another client waiting and I had to go. We were running just a little bit over time, but seal the deal, touch people. When I say touch people, I mean, give them that final touch. It's a touchstone for, I value you. Now, there's a touch, that is appropriate touch, physical touch too. So that's appropriate also when, at the right time, in the right way, right? So you want to actually physically touch somebody sometimes. You know what? Hey, this was a great conversation. I'm so glad we had it. I like to shake people's hands. I'll put my hand out. They'll put their hand in mine, and I put my other hand on top of theirs. It's sealing that trust, that sense of trust. And it makes a huge difference. Networking looks different today too, right?
Yeah.
Because we are all really hyper-focused right now. We're at the first quarter. We're trying to figure out what's the game plan for this year, and stay active in it, right? But I was telling Eva that, I'll go to, there's a neighborhood, very nice high-end steak and seafood house. I go there as opposed to McDonald's, and I will sit there at the bar. I'm going to say that online, and I go and I have a prosecco. This is my place, and this is my once a week. I'll go there, and I just go there to meet people and to relax. I go there to make friendships, right? To make connections. And so I was in there the other day, and the GM told me, there was a standing GM there, and she goes, oh my God, Gina, everybody loves you here. Everybody's talking about you and how magical you are bringing people together. We see you bringing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people together. They're all sitting there laughing and talking. The bartenders are telling us people are crying and then hugging each other, and everybody's exchanging numbers. I'm not condoning going to a bar and networking, but I am saying that this way of meeting people is deeply personal. you know, it is deeply personal, and we take away. I have had, we take away for friendships. I have right now in my text box 9 groups of people that I met there. 9 groups of people. We're all connecting, and we're sometimes doing things together, like eating together and so forth. And, you know, I found out things about people that are phenomenal. Like 2 of them are Uber drivers. They're both single women. Yes, psychological analysis. Absolutely. This is psych. This is definitely psychology. In today's marketing, we need to employ that. It's important.
There's so
And
much truth to we're not salespeople.
yes,
There's so
yes,
much truth there.
your brand, it's you. It's not your product. It's not your company. It's not your services. It's you. You are the brand. And so, you know, I found out these 2 women that are single moms, they drive for Uber for secondary gigs. They're both real estate professionals. But my point with that is I now have a personal driver, 2 of them. You know, so there's no end to what, and it's supporting them as well. And I know that these connections work because I'm getting referrals from people that I'm meeting in ordinary ways, right? In conversation, beautiful conversations that are meaningful. So I just want to encourage you to use, you know, a different approach this year. And then, you know, there was a quote I wrote down. It said, this is me talking, have conversations that cause people to ask later, hey, Gina, what do you do? Because a lot of people, I've grown my Facebook following online without, I mean, I started it and I didn't even know how to turn a computer on. Okay, so this is all organic growth. I don't advertise. I don't use my business page. I use my personal page, and I have told stories over time. My writing has developed. I changed recently to content creator because I'm a writer. And writing those stories creates what? It evokes emotions in people. It establishes a connection. I've become friends with some of these people, so many of them online. We actually meet, we fly to each other, we have conversations, we cry on the phone together sometimes. I mean, it is that meaningful. We're talking about a superficial online forum. You know, those.
Gina, you mentioned something about storytelling, and I want to jump into that because I think it's really important. Before we do that, though, I did want to just touch base with Colby here because I know she's monitoring the chat, and I know she probably has some thoughts. So I would like to just jump into storytelling for everybody here, and if anybody here has any thoughts around that. But Colby, are you seeing stuff in the chat, or did you want to throw your
Yeah,
two
the
cents in?
chat is really active right now. Something that Kenneth Wallace said a little ways up in the chat. He said his default is focusing on being understood instead of being more understanding. And I think that a lot of us can relate to that experience because we all want to feel heard. And you know, at the same time, by being more understanding, we are able to establish that trust that Gina is speaking about, because when people feel heard, that establishes trust, right? And so I just thought that was kind of a profound comment. So thanks for sharing that, Kenneth.
It is. Thank you, Ken. And you know, that's a great turning point for you. And for us, it's a good reminder for me too. I mean, we're all learning together here. And so the quote that I wanted to share was, it's not so much who you know, it's who knows you. You see the difference? That reflects on what Ken just said.
Yeah.
Right? We gather all these people so that we can, oh, I've got to have all these people in my circle, you know, for whatever, but are they meaningful relationships, right?
When
Some
people ask you, Gina, how many people are a common question in the real estate world is how many people do you have in your database? Well, if you apply that question and change the question to how many people you have in your database that actually know you, that's a much more powerful tool to
Oh,
use to build business.
it is. And Eva, I want you to know that someone called me yesterday. They actually sent me a message first, and we ended up talking for 2 hours, but she lives out in California, and she said, guess what? I just got a message. an email from somebody that we both know, and it was inviting me to this event that we're on right now. I just met this woman who came from California to Dallas to an event that we were both in, a 3-day seminar. And she contacted me yesterday and told me, hey, I got an invite about this. This is what I'm talking about. She said, do you know this person? And I said, and she told me her name. And Eva, you know who it is, and we'll talk afterward because it's somebody, a key figure in your life too. And I said, no, I've never met her. I really don't know that much about her. I know who her husband was, and I know that she exists, but I don't know anything about her. Isn't that phenomenal?
It's a small world, right?
Marie, you see the chat? Marie. Okay, Marie, this is our call to action. We have to get on a phone call or a video call together. I'd rather see your beautiful face online. So like talking, so we get on a Zoom call. But that I just love that. And this is what I'm talking about. Who knows you? People know me, but they don't know what I do. Even online, I've been online for 10 years. People don't know what I do a lot of times. I think that's so funny.
I had a really eye-opening experience early on in my career about that. I had been in real estate maybe 3 or 4 years, and the kids were young, and I was on the baseball field, and somebody said to me, "Oh, you're still in real estate?" And it hit me that people don't know what you do unless you tell them. You've got to not be afraid. Not in an obnoxious, in your face kind of way, but tell people what you do, remind people what you do.
A lot of
Well,
us.
like what Gina says, authentic relationship marketing.
Yes. Can you talk about ARM?
So I created an acronym. This is why my husband was Dave Jenks. He was a wonderful agent for Keller Williams and representative for them with a lot of their.
Co-author of the Red Book.
Yes. So he was an epic educator, trainer, teacher, writer, content creator. And did you know that he was a educational psychologist by PhD?
No, but I'm not surprised by that. Just knowing him the way I did, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So living with him was like having constant masterminds. I mean, we were always engaged in scintillating intellectual conversation, which if any of you are interested in dating, I want to have a conversation with you about that. But it also applies to business. Okay. So I got distracted. ARM.
ARM.
So I created this acronym while my husband was still alive, and we were having a conversation. I said, hey, honey, ARM, what do you think about this? And he goes, okay, tell me more. I said, this is what I do. It's authentic relationship marketing. He goes, you better get the domain for that. And you better trademark it. Okay, so authentic relationship marketing is what I'm talking about. It is absolutely what I'm talking about.
Market yourself as you are.
Yes.
Not as you think you are, as you really are. Look at your strengths and market your strengths, because a lot of us will poo-poo or beat up on our own strengths.
Well, and that's the point I'm trying to make with, going online, like Colby just said, that's authentic relationship marketing. It is, but here's the thing. There's a rub here because I haven't done such a good job of marketing myself as my business, like my job, my services, right? But what I have done is establish a sense of trust with people. I'm very confident about that. And I'm very confident about my work. There's no mistaking that. But what happens is when I do share, a testimonial, because a lot of my clients they're executives in real estate or in some industry that is, they're in a space where, they really don't want their stuff out there online, right? So when they either don't write a testimonial or they do, it's very bland sometimes, right? So what I will do often is change the name and write the story myself. And when I share that experience online, people are all of a sudden, my text box is blowing up because now people are saying, oh my God, I didn't know you, Joe, that I didn't know you were a clinical hypnotist. I didn't know you help people that way. Well, yes, I do. I've been working in that industry, in the healing industry for over 40 years now. And that kind of gives away my age, but hey, I'm proud of my age. Um, but you know, the the meat of it is that I'm a trauma sensitive provider. I'm a somatic provider. I work with the mind, body, and spirit. And you know, you can work on your soul and your spirit and your energy and your affirmations and all of that mindset stuff, but you better take your brain with you. And, you know, our mind is a deep well. Okay. We have the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, the unconscious mind, and the mind below thinking. That's the autonomic mind. It's the all of the parts of the mind that, you know, make your heart function, your lungs expand. You know, it's the autonomic functions of the body. But when it comes to the mind, we have to be very open with ourselves and have self-awareness, like genuine self-awareness. And when we get to that place where we can, bye, Sydney, she says she has to hop off. Thank you for being here. Um, you know, we have to be explorative. We have to be honest. And sometimes we need to step outside of ourselves and ask our people that know us best, where do you see my strengths? Where do you see my weaknesses? Like, help me think my way through this, because I'm going to tell you, we are always evolving. And if we're not evolving, what are we doing here? If there's one thing that losing my father, my husband, and one of my sons recently has taught me, it is that we are here for a brief period of time. We are here to fulfill our mission here as a viable community member. We are all here to change the game in some way, to move the needle for ourselves, for people, so that we can all evolve together. And professionally, that's just an extension of who we are personally and emotionally, spiritually, right? We have to bring it all into more balance, I guess, is the word that I would be looking for. But we have to clarify that. We have to have our own discovery calls. We have to address, you know, what's going on with me when things are falling apart, right?
So I just want to pop in here for a second, because I know that what you're saying is so powerful and it's touching me. I want to make sure if there's anybody on the call that wants to jump in and chat directly, we really do welcome that, because I know from myself being in real estate that a lot of what Gina is saying really comes into my day-to-day stuff, you know, and my interactions with clients. And for me this year, I don't want to play small this year. I want to play big this year. I sent out an email to my team earlier and I said, it's going to be a rock star kind of year. And I think that if you're here on this call, you believe that too, because why would you spend the time to be here if you don't? So please feel free, you know, just like kind of jump on in here, because as we get to, you know, the latter part of this call, want to make sure if you have something to say, please don't hesitate. You know, we really welcome it. And also I wanted to say to Colby, I know you're monitoring the chat, and also if there's something that you think we should be touching on that we haven't, because Gina and I have just kind of gone into conversation mode. I might as well be on the phone with you, Gina, and chatting. But I think this is where the real value comes in, right? Because, you know, you jump from one conversation to the next, and each one has, you know, something new to add. So, Cole?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to raise their hand using like the raise your hand function, you can feel free to do that and we'll make sure to get to you. We did get a couple questions in the chat. First, Jen Frost asked, Gina, what do you do to de-escalate?
Okay, so one of the things that I think is really critical for all of us is that we want to be the calmest person in the room. That means that we have to monitor our energy, our thinking. We have to take care of, you know, our emotions so that we can be regulated when we get into conversations so that we're not out of control. We're not shooting off comments from the hip or just making, you know, I'm going to call them verbal missteps, right? Or inaction, right? And so my practice is, you know, I'm a faith-based woman. I say that I'm in a deep relationship with God today. This, you know, fallout that I've had in my life, and there's been many, many things, which is a whole stage presentation. But you know, I've dealt with a lot of adversity, and you know, you have to be able to be introspective. You have to be able to go inside. I write every day. I mean, I do my research in the morning after I've done my devotionals, and then I get into the research, and then I get into, you know, I'll listen to things, I'll read things. But I'm a constant learner, and you have to be in the game of learning. You have to think like a beginner too. So it's, you know, a lot of these things seem, you know, um, in opposition to each other. You know, it just seems like it's polarized. Like, oh, but you have to take in information, but you have to produce information. You can't, if you're just taking, you're not going to be doing anything, right? I mean, we've all read all the self-help books, right? Are we
Yeah.
perfect yet? You know, so we have to take steps. You have to write. This is my number one recommendation to people, is to write. Become a journalist for yourself. If you write, and you can write in different ways, and it produces different results. Like I remember when I was in a horrible situation for several years, I just started slam journaling. And I mean, slam journaling means you don't filter anything. You don't filter anything. You say what you want to in that writing. And, you know, I remember going back and looking at, because that's a way to expunge that energy that's in you that feels horrible, right? It's anger with no place to go. And that will make you sick. It will kill you. Stress kills us and makes us sick. And so I went back later to read that. I found it when I was moving after my last move, and I read some of the pages, and I started sobbing, and I was like, I can't believe that was me. That was me at one time. That is so far removed from me today. Today, I'm confident. I'm self-assured. This is what I want you all to feel, that level of leveling up. You know, it's self-awareness on steroids. It's, I am invincible. I'm going to die, and I know that, right? My time isn't right now. It might be tomorrow, but that's more reason for me to work on this today, right? I don't miss a step. Every day I write every day. When I get into a lull, I actually go deeper. I get quiet. There's times where I take a pause. And believe me, even pause in conversation is really important. You know, you need to take a pause. Like, don't talk over somebody else. Like, listen to them, really hear them, listen to them viscerally. You understand what that means, right? Like, you're going to feel the pulse of that conversation. Like I said earlier, when the rest of the room dissolves away and it's just you two there. But writing does that for you too. It will transform you. There's a lot of things that happen in the brain when we process information this way. It's just information. It doesn't have to be deemed bad or good, or, you know, oh, it's evil or whatever. No, I mean, money. What's money? Money is not evil. It's the way we use money that might be considered not so great, right? Might be
I always
heinous.
like to say, money makes you more of what you are.
Well, that's a good truth.
If you're a kind person, it makes you kinder. If you're, you know, grumpy person, it makes you grumpier.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
how I view money.
yeah. Good point. You know, and it's like self-regulation is critical, because I'm going to tell you, when you get into a situation where there's a problem, and there's varying degrees of problems, right? But you get into that kind of situation, and with your clients, with your family member, with your friend, whatever, there are going to be moments where you are going to need to stop and be able to self-regulate so that you can have a dialogue with somebody and communicate in a way that is absolutely going to change the narrative and of that, what that experience looks like, right? You could be on the road having road rage, and if they could hear what you're saying, that might be a different scenario, right? So we want to filter like there's transparency and there's vulnerability and then there's levels of it, right? Right? There's a but back to the writing, you want to be completely transparent with yourself. This is how we change. I was telling Eva on another one of the calls that I was teaching yoga at one point, and I was teaching yoga classes, which took me, by the way, 3 years to actually teach because I was so paranoid about getting in front of people, if you can believe that. I'm not that person anymore. But I remember teaching basic yoga to the level where I was saying, this is a yoga mat, and holding it up and saying, this is how you lay it. This is where you put your feet. This is where you put your toes, like lift them, raise them, all that sort of thing. And I noticed that the classes were full all the time, but there were tenured instructors that were coming in. And I was so curious, like, why are they here? Are they here to judge me? Like, that was where my mind went at the time, right? They were there because they wanted to remember what it was like to be a beginner. Brilliant. That is part of what we need to do when we're talking to people who aren't, maybe they're looking for answers for whatever reason, to be able to see them where they are now. And this is what happens when we write. We see ourselves where we are right now. It is very helpful. And when you go back, Dave used to keep notebooks. I have his notebooks, all of them. He just kept a spiral notebook, and they were the thick spiral notebooks. And he would write every day in those notebooks, every activity he had, everything, everyone he talked to, what he said, what they said. He would, as soon as he got off a call with them, he would go into his notes and write down something about them so that he could remember in case he forgot what that conversation, what their personal life was like. There's some relativity there, right? There's some meaningful content there. And we have, I think it's between 70 and like over 100,000 thoughts a day. That's a lot of thinking, isn't it? How do we separate all of that? Right? We have to write it down. And there's, your memory retention is better when you write it. I go so far as to write it, then I read it. So I'm layering opportunities to remember, right? So that's one of the things that I do. I mean, you have to move your body. It's the basics, all the things that we know we're supposed to do. Get sunlight every day. One of the first things you should be doing is going to sit outside and get sunlight.
Oh, that's a really good idea in New York right now.
Well, it's really overcast and cold and rainy here right now too. I think we're the same temperature you guys are.
And you're supposed to be barefoot, right? Need to touch the ground.
Yes, that's grounding, but we're not going to do that today. But but I did go outside and sit on my porch today. I bundled up and I went out there and sat, because this is I have procedures, habits that I stick to every day. These are what help me. They help me. They help me to be myself. They help me to stand up in my own strength. They help me to relate to people. When I feel rested and well fed and well hydrated and well prayed, I am going to do better. I'm going to function better. I'm going to relate to people better. I'm going to have better critical thinking. I am going to execute the plans better.
Absolutely.
Do I still make mistakes and forget things? Yes, of course. I'm human. Of course. We have all those thoughts that we had that I mentioned earlier. They're all still in here rolling around, right?
Yeah.
They're always here, but always journal. It's one of the most beautiful practices that you can do, and it's transformative. And I want to say this too. there's an emotional piece of, we need community and we need our friends and all that. But I think that we have like concentric circles here. For me, it's God, myself, and then me and God, and then it's my family, and then it's my closest friends, then it's my collegial friends, and then it's my colleagues, and then it's maybe new people I'm meeting, whatever, right? So these circles are on a need to know basis, but about intimate details of my life, right? But sometimes I say things out in public that are like shocking to people, so shocking that they'll just start crying right away. But it's a way to connect with people, and we end up hugging and they'll tell me their stories. I still tell people pretty quickly in a conversation, I lost my father, my husband, and my son recently, and it's touching to people. Now, I'm not going to suggest that you go around telling everybody that, but it's the impactful way that we relate to each other. There's a relevancy there. People want to feel relevant, right? You have to move people. I mean, if you want to be, in I was going to say earlier, if you're not you're not the dumbest person, the least informed person in the room, you're in the wrong room too. When it comes to learning our skills, get into a bigger room. Get into a bigger room with bigger players, because that will challenge your personal best, right? That is a way to upgrade, and you will upgrade.
And it's a way to upgrade that doesn't cost anything. A lot of people, either don't have the money or the time or there's a lot of reasons why people kind of stunt their own growth. And that's something, I said to somebody recently, it might have even been you, I feel like I've learned more in the last 7 months than I have in the last 7 years.
Yeah.
And the reason is because I'm around new big thinkers. I had been, in one place for a long time, and you get comfy there. But then when you have this opportunity to surround yourself by people that are inspiring and have new thoughts, it's invaluable and it's free. So there's no reason you can't do it. So if nothing else, that's a way to expand.
Yeah, I was really excited about this call because, this material that we're talking about today, I mean, I'm actually writing a lot more about this, but, and I'll be speaking on this topic as going forward, but, and there is more, but I was really excited about it because this was at no charge. At no charge. I mean, the fact that you're offering this to people when, like you said, people are not spending the same money in the same ways that we were last year. We're just not. People are holding on. They're a little bit more protective today with good reason, right? We don't know a lot of things. There's a lot of things up in the air, right? Everybody knows that. But there's ways that you can learn more and be in those rooms. And we have so much access online to online information today. You could be in that mode all day long and all night long, right? But another thing is to go to bed early. I mean, I can't even stress that enough. We are a nation of insomniacs. We're overweight. We're over medicated. Our food is unhealthy. I mean, there's just a lot of issues to deal with, and our the pharmaceutical, all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
All the stuff.
I don't mean to cut that short because I love what you're saying, but we are nearing towards the end of our call, and I want to just check in with Colby again. I know we had an outline that we've kind of totally gone off of, but is there
Yeah,
anything that you wanted us to hit on, Cole?
We've really covered the outline, but I do want to make sure we get to the couple outstanding questions in the chat. One is a larger question, and one I'll start with maybe the question from Nick, who is asking, do you have any good resources for communication in business?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so first of all, I want to say that communication in business is communication, period. You understand what I'm saying, Nick? Like, it's still Emotional communication. It's an emotional, you're establishing an emotional connection. Doesn't matter if you're talking to your child, or if you're talking to a clerk somewhere, or if you're talking to a professional. It is still your emotions and these establishing an emotional connection of a relationship that is going to matter. And there's all kinds of things. There's, like Vanessa Van Edwards, somebody right off the top of my mind that comes up. She talks about body language, signals, cues. She did Captivate and Cues. There's so many. I have a resource like a whole list of people. If you want to reach out to me after the call, I'd be happy to share some names with you, some resources that you can follow.
Yeah, we'll drop your email in the chat at the end here. And then the other question that we received is, what is the most important thing you have found that helps create stronger community? As someone who is not overtly open to starting conversations with new people, I find it difficult to do what you mentioned earlier, like bringing people together at a bar, creating space where people feel comfortable in new relationships. We also had someone comment that they have this challenge as well.
Okay. I think that one of the most challenging things for us is to just not we just fail to recognize that we're all people. We're all people. And so when we put these standards of belief on ourselves that are like, feel bigger than us, like I have to say the right thing. What am I going to talk about? Just talk. Ask them. People want to hear their name, first of all. So if you say, what is your name? And you repeat their name, oh, that's a nice name. So-and-so, Jill, I love talking with you today. This is wonderful. So Jill, tell me a little bit more about yourself. Do you have a family? Where do you live? What's your favorite place to go eat? This inquiry, right? Go deeper. There's an inquiry here. Make it about them. Take the pressure off you. Make sense? And then we over dramatize this, this fear that we're going to say the wrong thing. We're going to make a mistake. We're going to over reveal something. We're all talking about human beings here. Everyone has problems. Everyone has solutions. I lived all over the world and saw a lot of different cultural lifestyles and lived with people in different places and get to know, the people, the community, what their beliefs are, their practices, their lifestyles, and we're all the same. We have the same issues, concerns, problems, loves, fears, desires. We're all in this together. There's no fear. There's only communication.
Yeah. And Gina, what's so cool about that too is, for me, I'm always looking for connection, right? In anything that I do, I'm looking for the common thread, trying to find the common thread. It just kind of comes naturally. It's not like I go into a conversation and say, oh, let me figure out what I know, what we have in common. But I've also traveled a lot, and I find that it doesn't matter where the person's from, what their background is, there is almost always a common thread. And people love to share that common thread when you ask them.
They do, because you're asking about them. You're making it about them. We have that phrase, oh, it's not about me, it's about them. Well, yeah, it really is. Everybody wants to be special. We all want to be special. We want to feel like we're something. We're worth, it's worth us being here on this planet, here in this world.
A lot of times I'll ask people where they live, and sometimes they'll look at me a little bit funny. And like, oh, it's an odd question. And then, if I get that from somebody, I'll say, oh, I'm in real estate. So I always ask where people live. And then they'll share. And so if they don't think it's funny, they just share, and then you springboard off of that. And if they do think it's funny, you can explain it away. And that question can take you a million different directions. So even if you're not, loving starting conversation with people you don't know, you can use, something like that to be an icebreaker.
Yes, and even deeper would be what's a favorite thing about where you live? What do you love about where you live?
Yeah.
Because, asking them that direct question of where do you live might seem a little bit it might be a little bit too personal, right? It might be like, why do you want to know that? Are you coming over? Like, but
Well, that's actually what happens sometimes.
I
Kind of,
know.
ease it up, and
Look at me like,
I actually then say, do you love it? Or what do you love about it? It's so true. It's easy to kind of when people are taken off guard to kind of back off, but that's a great suggestion. Maybe I'll try that and scare less people.
yeah.
I'll scare less people that way.
Yeah, and then you might like I learned this in this course that I went to. It was a college level course, and it was about startups. And so we were talking back earlier about client avatars, and know your client, like know them to a T.
Yeah.
One of the things that they brought up was to when you're doing this discovery with people for the first time, you want to really let them talk and not tell them what you do. Now, this was kind of mind blowing for me because I was like, oh, but I'm so used to saying, when they ask me, saying what I do. But, there's ways to get around that. There's ways to negotiate that one. But you want them to talk. They're going to tell you things. When people sit in my chair and they say to me at first, I have no problems. I mean, I have no family drama. Like there's nothing ever been wrong in my life. I'm like, really? Okay, tell me about this. I keep asking them questions. And it's, revealing. I mean, if you let people talk, they will. If you ask them the right questions, they will reveal a lot more information. The trick is to you not over reveal so that it becomes about you. Now that is hard to do. And even I struggle with that one still, but it really does truly work. There's so much more here that we wanted to talk about.
Well, I'll have to have you back one of these days. But
Yeah, you've already been requested by popular demand for a part 2.
Oh, awesome. I love
Gina,
that. I
thank
love
you.
to come back.
Really, really appreciate you, and thank you so much. This was powerful for me. I hope it was for everyone here. Colby, we're going to send out a copy of the recording, and we'll share Gina's information as well
Yeah.
for anybody who wants to follow up. You want to just plug next week's?
We really encourage you to leave a review on Gina's Google business page. The link, I'll reshare it here. If you'd like to leave a comment about your experience in this call. And also here's her personal email if you wanted to reach out to her directly. And I shared a couple times in the chat, but I'll share it once more here. We're going to be doing these on the 2nd and 4th Monday of every month. This is our lineup, and our next speaker is actually Anthony Jiha. So Gina, actually Marie's son.
Oh,
I'll spotlight him real quickly. Anthony is going to be
Anthony, I didn't
Yeah, I'm looking
realize-
forward to it, guys. I don't have as much powerful stuff to say, I don't think, but I'll work on it.
Oh,
we need to have a clinical call then about that one.
Yes, that would be great.
Get all over that one, Anthony.
I'm looking forward to it, guys. Thank you.
We'll be talking about his transition out of the TV and entertainment industry. He was a location scout for years and has kind of taken that experience and applied it to pivoting into real estate and contributing to the multi-generational legacy that is his family in real estate, following in Rick Jiha's footsteps. So we hope you'll join us. And if anyone has any questions, just reach out. We'll be sending out an email with all of this information too.
Thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate the people that did stay on the call. I know I saw a couple messages come up where
they had to jump.
Had to jump off, but it was a wonderful opportunity, and I'm so grateful that you asked me to come on. Thank you so much, guys.
Patty says she thinks she got hypnotized on this call, so.
and you did that for free.
You get it for free. Well, you know what? That's something that I'm going to be announcing soon too. There's some other things coming. I've got a lot of things in the works and I'm so excited. You know, it was, you know, kind of a tough transition.
Anything we can do to help, we're there.
Thank you so much. I
Love you.
appreciate you, ladies. Eva, Colby, thank you. Bye,
All
everyone.
right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Have a great Monday.
Thank you, Toby and Eva. Jeez.
Yep.
Good.
Thanks for coming, Aunt.
Yeah. See you soon.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
All
Thank
right.
you, Dylan. I see you there in the corner.
Bye, Anthony. Nice to meet you. Oops, he's gone. Oops, he's gone.
All right. See you
Hi,
guys.
Dylan. Thank you, Dylan.
Bye.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.